Excuse me, miss, sir. Hello. Welcome to my Viking village. Yeah, I just bought the most authentic Viking clothes from the shop down the way. They told me this is what they wear. So, you want to see how I made this nice, bustling little village here? Stay tuned. Let's go. Okay. I know you were expecting the finale for the other kit, but that one's taking a little longer. But in the meantime, I thought I would do this one, just kind of a palette cleanser. I got this set in the mail by fifijoy, and if you've never, well, you might have, because they do a lot of the wizard houses. They're a little more goth in my eyes. They're very, very, very cool kits. And so they sent me this one, and I thought, you know what? Yeah, I haven't done a book nook in a long time. So let's go ahead and open this up. And this one is from fifijoy. Thank you very much for sending this to me. It was the first, I don't know, I guess I'm considered an influencer promo kit that I've ever been sent. So thank you very much. I look forward to doing this. And I will put a link in my description of where you can buy these. I don't get anything from it other than, I'm going to show you how to do it, and we'll have some fun. And it's interesting, they actually give you a hammer. Is it Thor's hammer, maybe? And here, you're going to see, it's just all flat packed, so it's kind of like a big puzzle. A big 3D puzzle, basically, yeah. Not much parts, but, and it's all labeled, which we love. But this will be fun to make. Nice change of pace from flowers and gardens, right? Now there was a couple things I noticed with the instructions. Number one, I noticed it says ages 15 on up. So yeah, even though it's kind of just a put together puzzle kind of, it is a little bit more advanced than some of those just snap together puzzles. And we're going to do clouds. That's something new. Another thing I noticed is it says if you need a digital instruction manual that can be zoomed in for a closer look, that's ding, 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 ding. You can email them and they'll send you one. That's huge, because the way I usually do it, and probably you guys, is I either get the little magnifying glass and have to kind of figure out what they're trying to say, or I take a picture of the thing that I'm doing and then I zoom in on my phone. So having them offer to give you an instruction manual digitally, that's pretty good. Another thing I noticed is the printing on these. They're gorgeous. And I'm not just saying that because they sent it to me. No, these are really pretty. And it sometimes you'll notice on some other kits that it's just kind of laser printed on there. And if you sanded it really well, it would have come off. But these are literally printed onto the wood, or the press board. And it's great quality. I'm impressed with this kit. I honestly would not have picked this out for myself. My son is huge into Vikings and things like that, so I think it's going to be his, he's a September baby. It might be his birthday present. He'll love this, because this is very Viking-y. It is Viking-y. I don't know what I'm saying. I also noticed this is like, wait a minute, what is this? And I love the label. This toy can help you take out small parts. I laughed at it at first, but you know what? I used it a lot. It is very handy. And I put it in my I have a little box of just whatnots that I use, and it's there, and I'm going to use it for other kits that I have to punch out things, because that tool, surprisingly, was super helpful. Alright, let's start building this little guy. Little? It's pretty big. There are 99 total steps, and we're going to start with number 1, and we're going to make these little steps. So step 1 is steps. I didn't use the little hammer very much, but I can see in certain spots that this is very helpful. I tried to be very gentle too. This kit is pretty fun to do for that instant gratification aspect because little sheep, there's a little sheep, you just see what it's going to look like pretty much instantly. Another thing while I was building this, I noticed they do here and there give you extra parts. So I have an extra little sheep, and I have an extra little this and that. Not many, but they do give you a few extras. Even the little people, blacksmith, a guy that's fishing, an old lady, they're all printed. And we'll just put them into place. And these do all fit very nice and tight, thus the hammer, so you can tap them in if you want to. At times I completely forget that I have that little hammer. And when it does feel a little wibbly wobbly, I would recommend just a little dollop. I just use my Eileen's tacky glue here and there very lightly, and everything was pretty secure. Here we're just going to put our little knight guy, and he's going to be looking like he's walking up the steps. There's usually only one way that these little guys will fit into the slots, so that it does help dictate which way he's going to be facing and things like that. And we're going to put him on the step. He's just going to float there for a minute. And then we're going to build the steps against the wall here. We're already at step 6. You can do this. You just gotta, I would say the hardest part is figuring out which direction they go. But otherwise, it's pretty easy. It's very doable. Here's the water that goes underneath the dock here. And just make sure your holes are going the right direction and things like that. And you're going to get these teeny tiny pieces. This is probably why it's 15 plus, because these pieces are small. And you got to basically put these little pier blocks into the tiny little holes. Here we go. We got our little pegs in there. Make sure they're facing the right direction. I don't think it would matter a whole lot if they're facing the other way, except one thing that does help is sometimes it's only printed on one side. And you got to remember that you're only going to see it from the front. So the printed side always faces towards you. That would be the biggest tip, I would say. And now we're going to connect our two pieces that we built here. So the knight going up the steps and our little villagers at the bottom here, they go together. And then we attach the dock here. This is what I mean, instant gratification. It's nice break. And these are fun to do. I just have YouTube playing in the background and I'm just building away. I did this in a day. So take that as you will. And I just, this is my relaxing time. I build kits. Now the upper part has this little Viking dude, and he goes up on the top with some fencing. And he's perched right up here looking like he's going to pick a fight with our little knight here. You shall not pass! Now we're going to build a little cart. There's a lot of little parts and pieces. It's not that bad. Again, just make sure your printing is facing towards you, because that's what's going to show. I do these a little out of order. I put the wheels on first. It doesn't matter. As long as you get a cart in the end, right? So I'm going to put the little wheels on the side. Now I'm going to put these little teeny, it's the stands for the back so that the cart stays up. And we're going to put those in the back little holes. And these fit very, very tight, which is a good thing. They're not going to fall apart, that's for sure. And so use your tools. I use my pliers a lot. Jam them in there very gently, but when I did this, I most definitely broke it. Yeah. Oops. I put a little too much Viking power in that one. You know, in all honesty, the whole kit, this was the only thing I broke. That's a record for me. But no big deal. We'll just save the pieces and we'll glue it together. This cart kind of goes in the backish, so you really won't see it a whole lot. But I just put some white glue in there, fixed it up. No one will ever know. Well, you'll know, but we won't tell, right? Shh. we'll set this down gently because those little pegs are what holds it into the base, so we need that to dry completely before we mess around with it. So we'll just set that aside and go to the next step. Okay, it's going to start getting interesting now. We're going to build lots of towers. They look like Rapunzel towers, castle towers. And so this one's pretty straightforward. Just make sure your that A21, the back piece, is facing the right direction. Otherwise, it'll throw off the whole thing. And you're going to make a whole bunch of those. Now you got to put all those little pieces that you made into this. It looks like the Millennium Falcon spaceship. And they do all fit in there. So we'll just put them in just as it shows in the picture there. Another tip I suppose I can say is I don't take the pieces off the main board until I absolutely need it, because some of these pieces are very small, like this one for example. So if I took that out ahead of time, chances are 99% of the time I will lose that. It's just a sweep of the sleeve or something, so I don't take it off until I need it, and then I put it in there. Plus they're labeled nicely on the boards, the main boards that they come off of. So now we're just gonna put all our pieces in. There we go. And now for the next level. All right, we have a little doorway here, and this is what I mean. I don't take the pieces off until I need them. These would definitely get lost or broken. And surprisingly, I did not break that little U shape, N shape. Just use that cool little tool that they give you and gently punch them out. And we're going to make this little door. It looks like a little doggy door, a dog house, but it's not. It's the front door to the tower. Well, maybe not the front door. And this little piece in the back, you do have to glue. There are some pieces that you have to glue. I just use my white glue. Works perfectly fine, and I went very light on it. Doesn't take much. And just, it goes all the way to the top. All the way up. Because you want those little notches at the bottom. Those are going to fit into your piece below. And now we're going to put our door and our little Viking dude right up there. And this one has a tiny little door, and it fits just right in. Everything has its place, and they all fit very nicely together. And then you're going to notice that some pieces are printed on both sides, like this little door, because you're going to see it on both sides. Some are just on one side, some aren't printed at all. It's kind of the clue. If they don't have any printing on them, you know that piece isn't going to be shown. It's probably a bracer or just a function piece, whereas the ones that have printing on one side, that's the side that's going to show on the outside. So that helps you when you're building a little bit. And we're just going to add our little tower. This has a little piece here. So this is probably just a smidgen tricky here. The longer end, there's our cart. It's all dry and it's safe to put in there. But the longer end on this little bracket, it's loose in there. I did end up gluing it just to so it doesn't fall out when I'm manipulating the whole piece. You have to put them in both at the same time. So kind of lean the little piece in there, the little brace at the, what would you call it? Like the plank that you walk across. That goes under there, under the lip, and you just put it all together and it leans against that bracer piece. Easier to show you than to say it. There you go, like that. All right, now we're going to start building the tall part of the tower. My biggest tip for this one is every little wall is slightly different. So I did do it one at a time, and I kept them in the order that I built them, because that'll make a difference when you put them into the circle formation. So I just built one. One has a window, one doesn't. One, they're all slightly different and different shapes. And so build them one at a time and keep them in order, because it'll be part A, B, C, D, and on down the line there. All right, now that we got all our pieces, this is going to be what I mean. So if you'd mixed them all up, it wouldn't be a huge problem. You just would have to figure out which one goes next. But so luckily I was organized this time. And you're just going to connect into the circle piece. Now I noticed later that there was 2 circle pieces. It didn't hinder me at all doing it with just one, but I'm sure it probably would have been 10% easier for the next step if I had done 2 circles, but no biggie. So we're just going to go around and in a counterclockwise, it doesn't matter where you start, just that you start here and then you're going to go A, B, and go all the way around. And I will say, because I've finished this and I'm from the future, it does matter what order these go in, because it'll dictate where your lights go and where your windows go and things like that. So definitely do it in the right order. I don't want you to get messed up and get mad, because this is a fun kit. It's right here. I didn't even notice that I needed to put another ring at the top, but it didn't matter. It still worked, and it still held together. Okay, now we got to fit it in. All those lines need to fit into all those holes. And you need to make sure that the right window is in front. That's probably the hardest part. And this isn't the only tower you build. There's another tower too. But I would say putting all these little pegs into all those little holes is probably the trickiest part of the whole thing. Just take your time. Sometimes you have to click in one and then slowly work your way around to make them all fit into the holes. It does go in there though. And I will tell you, once it does snap into place, you definitely know. It just goes bloop right in there. And it's a nice tight fit. That tower ain't going down. All right, we're going to build the tippy top of the tower, the Rapunzel tower. And this one you're going to put the little pie slices, I call them, and they're all the same this time around. So just build them all. There's 8 of them, I believe. Okay, so we got our 2 little circles. This time I did it too. So the big one goes on the top, and the little one that looks like a little flowers goes on the bottom. It makes sense once you start building it. Usually on all of these towers, the hardest part is getting that very first piece in, and then once you got that, you just go all the way around. The best part of putting these together is they just feel nice. Once you put it all together, it's got a nice weight to it, you know? I don't know. It's hard to explain. You'll have to make them. All right, the fun part where we got to fit the pegs into the holes. So you'll notice that there's inside holes and outside holes. These are going to go on the inside holes. And then those outside holes are going to be for when we attach to that taller tower. And I will say, this is probably these little slots, little pegs into the slots. This is the most, if there is a frustrating part of them all. You just got to kind of just work it in there. They do fit. And this is where you realize if you didn't do a piece tight enough, or you just gotta maneuver it and take your time. There we go. See? It does work out eventually. Okay, before we get too far, we have to do a little bit of wiring. And the nicest thing about this is it's all put together. You don't have to do any shrink tubing or do anything like that. It's all in one piece. The con of it is all one piece, so it can be a tangled mess if you let it. So I did have to spend a little time organizing the wires once I took it out of the wrapper. Another thing is when I put the batteries in, it's got a touchpad to turn it on and off. That thing is very, very sensitive, so it kept turning on, off, on, off, on, off. So I was going to leave the batteries in. I eventually just I'm taking the batteries out because the lights going on and off constantly as I'm building this would be annoying. So I just left the batteries out until the very, very end. And you're going to see my attempt at organizing these wires so they don't get tangled up. I use my clothespins. This could easily become a tangled mess, so be careful. It does tell you which light to use, so I just measured out. This is all in centimeters. So the second longest wire, which should be about 26 centimeters long, so you can measure it out. And also you can do it by eye because there's one that's super long. And then there's the next one, and then the two little ones, and then there's kind of like I call them like Christmas lights. That's going to be for our cloud effect you're going to see later on. So this one just kind of hangs in your tower here, and there is a notch on the side. You can hardly see it, but there is a little notch that gives room for the wires. This is very fiddly. I probably, if I did it again, maybe do a little dollop of glue there to hold it into place. It just makes the tower glow. And I was trying to position the light so that it kind of shows through in one of the windows. And again, we got to line up our little pegs. And you get an added bonus of not letting the light fall out as you're putting this together. This is where the advance comes in. I would say probably the longest I took on this was this very first light. One, I had to untangle all the wires, organize that so that it will save me in the future. And two, trying to get this light just right in position. And then there's a little bracket that you put in to hold it into place. And that seemed, for me anyway, it was loose. So I did use my clear alcohol glue to glue down the wire a little bit, just to make it nice and neat and tidy. And while that's all drying, that was probably like, I need a timeout. Now we're back to business here. So we're going to build another it's a side window. Now we're into Howl's Moving Castle kind of look. It's like a little bay window within the tower. This is another one that every little side of the dormer there is different. So put them in order as you build them. So step 32, 33, so on. And some have windows, some don't. It'll make sense because when you put them all together, then you can just put them in the series. Okay, we got all our pieces. We'll keep them in order here, and now we're going to put them in our base. And this one was built in a clockwise fashion. And there we go. We got the little window there, little side room on the tower. And we have a little bracket piece that goes in the side here, and then one that goes on the bottom. This is another piece that has the little bracket on the bottom, so you had to put them in at the same time, and that bracket doesn't snap into anywhere, so it just kind of lays there. I do end up gluing all these parts because they kind of flop a little bit. I like them to be as secure as possible. So this little opening that we made, and this is why putting these strips or the little pie pieces in order matter, because otherwise you wouldn't have this little opening for this. And we'll just lay that one bracket piece and then put the other one in. And you do need to glue this in. It's too heavy to stay. So I ended up gluing it and holding it for a little while. Also, here is a good view of the wiring that I did. I did end up gluing that all down. And this back end, and this also tells you that this back end does not show, so it's all going to be facing backwards. But this is going to face front, so we want this to look pretty. There we go. After gluing it a lot, because that little tower wanted to fall forward a lot. It still is. And that glue dries clear, so we're good. Alright, we got another, this one's much smaller, little dormer window. We're going to build it basically the same way we did the other one. Except this one, it does have, each piece is slightly different. So like we did the tall, skinny tower parts, build them in order and keep them in order. We're basically doing the same thing over and over again, just different sizes, that's all. So these little teeny tiny pieces, they're going to go onto your base, just like you did the last one. This one just has an added little banner that goes on the bottom. And also, just like the last one, just smaller, we're going to put this on our tower. It's got the little bracket on the bottom. So you have to do them both at the same time. And I did end up gluing the whole part onto the tower. And half the time I think on this one was mostly just holding it into place. Could probably just use some painter's tape too. The painting on this is pretty tough. Now we're going even smaller. We have a itty bitty little dormer window. And this one might throw you off a little bit because, you know, when we normally build things, we want all the printing to show on the outside. You know, this one, you got to think a little bit sideways and backwards here. So you're going to build the doorway here. This one, it's printed on both sides, so no biggie. Actually, no, it's not printed on the back. But that goes towards the tower. And I'm thinking about it too, you can tell. Then you're going to put the side windows in. And this one, you're going to see that one faces, the printing goes towards us because that's where things are going to show. The back isn't printed. This is what I mean by thinking backwards and sideways. And then the other one, there we go. It only fits one way, so that kind of helps too. So this one, you're going to notice that the printing is on the inside. That's because the back end isn't going to show towards us, but this is going to go towards the back of the diorama there. So you're not really going to see that, but you're going to see it from the side and the inside. So it does make sense. It doesn't at the time, but... And this fits really strangely, so just do your best. Make it look as nice and neat as you can. And there you go. You're going to see how you can see inside that little side one, but you can't see the back. That's the illusion. Very cute. And they're going to stay there. We're at step 50. We're halfway. Woohoo! It's doable. Now this part is all inside tower building. So you're going to know that all these pieces that don't have any printing on them, they're not going to show. It's all structural. The biggest tip I can give you on building this big chunky piece that goes in the middle of the tower is make sure everything is all completely snapped in. So if it sticks out a little bit here and there, the next part, it kind of gets out of alignment a little bit. So just make sure it's all snapped in tight. And when you're all done, it should look a little something like this. And some of those pieces are a little bit loose, so I will have to go in. I'm going to find out later that I need to tighten them all up. And now we're going to build this kind of little backwards. Usually we build the walls and then the inside, but this time the walls come after. And each wall is a little bit different, so they do need to go in order. So I just kind of, there we go. I was like, uh-oh, I gotta tighten that. I did have to just take each part off one at a time so I don't get them all mixed up. And there is just one little teeny tiny piece. I decided to add just a smidgen of glue in there. It does fit pretty tight, but just in case. And then our favorite part, putting this little circle on the little pegs. These, I have no tips, just sometimes I have to do it like one side to the other. And this piece does have to go a certain spot, so you're going to notice that it has hole, 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 and then there's nothing. So that has to go in the certain direction. So just pay attention to that. And this is the last of the towers, so we're going to build the top of this one. This one's a little different because it doesn't go all the way around. There's a big gap in the back, and there's probably a reason for that, so we just build it as it says. And this one's nice and easy. We just put one at a time, and we're just going to leave a gap in the back. And there we go. Last tower. And we're just going to attach it to our base here. And there's a nice little X, and there's an X there. And we'll line it up. Just make sure it's facing the right direction. Ta-da! Got all our towers done. Looks really cool. I showed this a lot throughout the stages. Okay, now we're going to build a castle. Or the castle doors, at least. And I love how these are so prettily printed. It's kind of 3D-ish. So we're just going to build a castle. Kind of a short little skinny castle facade. I did find that these were a little loose to my liking, so I did add just a smidgen of glue at the bottom so they don't have tippy towers. And we have a little bit of a castle wall along the top here, or the bottom I should say, and they all fit in the little holes. Alright, we got these teeny tiny little pieces, and they're going to fit all along the top of this wall. I tried doing it with my bare hands, and they only fit one direction. And pay attention to how they are printed, so that the printing faces towards the front. So that kind of helps which way they go. And I tried doing it with my hands, and then I moved on to my pliers. It was just easier to grip it. Or your tweezers. They do provide you with cute little pink tweezers. And then there's a little sidewall there, and that one gets a little bump out too. Just one. We could do that. Now we'll make the sidewalls. You'll notice the very back one, the A, anything that's A, I noticed is just plain. So that's going to go to the back. We don't see it, so it has no printing on it. So the printing side one goes to the front, and they do fit very tight. And now we connect the two together. One big castle wall. Now we have a Viking lady that goes on this little floor, and this is going to, so that she's standing behind the little castle wall there, just like watching. Alright, we gotta build another wall. I'm gonna say these, this side piece that goes on the side with the kind of the jagged edge, those fit so tight, and that was probably the trickiest part of this piece here. So first we're gonna put the little stands on. This just basically holds it up. And it gives you a little leg so that you can stick it into your base. And it's this side piece here that it was really tough to stick on there for some reason. And I didn't want to break the little knobs off because it's supposed to stick out on both sides, not be flush. And your hammer definitely comes in handy. And I pushed with my little toy tool, and whew, that took a while. Stick our little Viking on the top there. And that piece is done, and we can start attaching everything together. We're basically building a really tall, skinny tower. So we're going to put the base in, and then we'll have our castle doors. And I know, I didn't know it at the time, I missed a step. I'll discover it later. Alright. Now we're gonna put it into our base here. I think I just got excited to put this all together because it looks really, really cool, even without the back walls and things. Okay, back to wiring. So we got a couple lights that go here. There's a shorter one that goes behind the castle wall, and then there's one. Well, the one that the one that goes into the other tower. I got the towers mixed up. So there's the second shortest tower. There's going to be another light that goes in there. And they do give measurements of which one goes where. And it also, once you start stretching these out, only one will fit in certain spots too. So that kind of helps too. So this one is the 21 centimeter. It's the second to the last shortest light wire. And that fits right there, and there'll be a little bracket that holds it in place. I did end up gluing all these. Once I got them in the right spot, then I glued them a little bit nice and neater. And this little short guy fits exactly in this little slot here. And there's this little slot at the bottom here, and that's where you're going to want your short wire. Yeah, they fit exactly in there, so just kind of put it in there, and that'll keep it flush for when you put the wall in. So it should look something like that. And now I'm just going to add a little glue here, there, so my wires don't flop around. Okay, so we got this little lighthouse, just random. Random, and it's got a lighthouse and a little bit of rocks. And this little bracket, the A28, that just connects the two pieces. And that goes way back in the foreground. We're building depth, you know, so this one goes way in the back. There's a slot just for it. Plus one more rock. Looks pretty good. Looks like something, huh? Alright, now it's going to get a little interesting here. So we got this back piece, and you're going to notice this wavy, funky little thing. That's actually a door. So don't cut it all out. It's a flap so that you can get into your battery pack. And this cool little Viking shield and thing, that's going to be your little, what do you call it? Handle. The door handle. Should look a little like that. I didn't punch it out. So the bottom, so the sides and the very bottom, they punch out so it opens like a flap. I left it closed just to keep it in one place so it's not flopping around everywhere. And then we're going to make this is the very top, and we're just going to put a piece of the plastic over the top. And you can tell the front from the back because the back will have this little square, and that's where you put your touchpad. So make sure you're working with that facing up for now. And you're going to put your piece of plastic over that. And it does have a clear film on both sides. So take that off so it's nice and clear. And I just put a tiny bit of glue on each corner. It was plenty because once you put your clouds and things like that, it all holds together. All right, speaking of clouds, they give you some purple, they give you some white, and it's this funny little floofy stuff. Mine had the where it was still all together, so you do have to floof it a lot so that it's more cloud-like. And you do not need all of this. They give you a lot. I found I started out with a lot as I mixed it and things like that, and then I slowly just ripped away from it so that it was less and less until it fit. Yeah, you don't need a lot. And you can make it as purple or as white or however you want. Just stretch and floof like you're making toffee or something until it's the right color that you want. Now I started out with this much thinking, oh, that looks okay. It was way too much. It's not going to fit. Otherwise you're going to look like it's got a lot of fog in there. I cut that down to by about a quarter. Okay, for this step, you need a lot of room. I have a tiny little table, so this was a little tricky. So you're just going to line them all up. You're not going to connect them completely, but you need to connect your lights all along that edge. There's going to be 2 lights that's going to go towards the other side. So what I did is first we're going to put this light over here, and then I'm going to set the 2 that I don't need on the side, and I just kind of clamped it. Kind of like you're doing hair, you got to clamp it out of the way. Okay, you can see it takes a lot of room here. I had to stand up for this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to, I call them Christmas lights. There's a long one and a short one. So they're going to all go up the main back side, and then the long one's going to end up on the top, if you can imagine that. And they're all going to be clamped down with these little C-clamps all the way along. You also, with those little fairy lights, you have this touchpad. I do like these things. I think all the kits should have them, to be honest, so that you can just turn them on and off at will instead of going all the way in the back and turning it on and it's on forever. But that has to go along that edge as well. So it sounds like it's tricky, but it's not too bad. So that little square that was at the top there, that's where your touch pad is going to go. And I just kind of clamped it with my clothespin there, which did set it off a few times, but I did put the batteries back in, you notice. And the lights work. And now you're just gonna, with these little clamps, you're gonna put them into place. I did add a little glue here and there, just for a little insurance. So you're gonna have the shorter one go along this edge, and it goes right with the little clampies there. And then the longer one's gonna go along the one that has the hole in it. The Viking hole. Okay, once you get those lights in place, then you got to put your clouds. And you're going to notice on the picture, I have this big, huge clump of clouds, and that is a tiny bit that needs to go on there. So let's cut that down quite a bit, and then we'll stick it down. And you'll see I still ended up with quite a bit of clouds, but it worked out. You just have to tuck it a little more when you start folding this up. Alright, now we're just gonna fold it. So I'm gonna put the top in there and then over the top like that. It's tricky. Plus I don't want to pull all the wires out. And mine is extra floofy, so we're just gonna have to tame that a little bit. We'll tuck them all in. And then we're gonna try to put the sidewall in. It's quite the juggling act. There we go. Ta-da! And you can see the two lights that I clamped ahead. It actually looks really cool. I like all the clouds. Once I got everything all secured, then I punched out this little hole. I tried to do it very carefully. And it is kind of cool idea. And that's so that you can get to your battery. We have to put a couple boats in the harbor here, so let's stick those in. And then we have these little tiny pegs that go down here, and that's to hold the next building that we gotta build. Now we got a little building that goes to the left side here. Last building, we can do this. And it's got the little things along the top, just like the castle did. These, just make sure that they're facing the right direction. And we got another one, pretty much the same, except this one has a little window in it. And we're going to attach that last piece we just did to this wall. So this is kind of going to be like the doorway. Put the side piece on. You always know which direction they go. So the one that faces us on the left there, that's printed on both sides. So you know that we're going to be able to see it from all angles. But the one in with the doorway in the middle, we can only see it from one side. Kind of gives it you little clues. And now we're going to put the little topper that'll make it nice and square, and then put all the little decorations on. We're making a little Tudor house. Our village is full of people. So we got another little Viking dude that goes here with some fencing. And he's going to be standing at the door here. And now we're going to attach it to the base. The hardest part for me was getting that little stairway to line up the way I wanted it to. where it made sense. The back part, I mean, the slots are the slots, you know, they're gonna only go one way. But getting that little stairs in the spot was a little tricky. And there we go. We got it in there. It fits almost exactly. Pretty tight too. That sucker ain't gonna move. And this building is 2 stories, so we're gonna build the 2nd floor here. And it's pretty straightforward. Kind of like the other one, except it doesn't have the little notches on there. The only part that threw me off on this little guy was the direction of the little dormer roof area. You're going to see you want to put it that way, but nope, it goes the other way. So it's that rule of if you don't see it, it's not going to show. So the printing goes towards you. And this one gets all the Tudor trimmings as well. And they're all glued on. None of those snap in. And if all goes well, that should fit right on top of your other piece. And I'm just looking at it and admiring it. It's very cool. Look at all the lights. We don't quite have lights on our big building on the side yet, so let's do that next. One thing I did do, and I'm glad I opened this flap, is I made sure that it was tucked underneath so it doesn't float in midair there. We want to hide these wires as much as possible. So it should go down underneath the floor here. Now the shorter one will go down on the bottom here. And then the taller one, they do fit through there. It's a little tight. Will go on the top. And there's a little window circle up there that they do want you to stick the light through. The littler, the shorter one down here, it just goes, it's clamped into place down here, just glows the bottom part. And this upper light, I did have to take some of the roof off just so I can see what I was doing. It kind of fits into this hole just right, and I did end up gluing it. I just used white glue in there just to hold it in place and then clamp it down as they showed it. And it should look something like that when you're done. And then you cover it up with this little roof piece. There. Now the whole village has light. Very nice. How'd they get that boat in there? Okay, we're almost there. We're almost done. Now we got a little windmill that goes on the very tippy top of that building. It looks kind of funny, but once it's all built, then it makes sense. So we're just going to build the base here all the way around. Once you got the bottom all the way around, then you're just going to do basically the same thing all the way around the top, just smaller. And then we're going to put these little rib pieces in. And they try to point out that the thicker side goes towards the front, towards the little nose, I guess. And then the thinner, it goes thinner at the back. If you do it the opposite way, I don't think it's a big deal. Just make sure they're all consistently the same, whichever way you go. And we got to make our little windmill Tudor style. So we got these little crisscross pieces. Make sure they're up so that you don't block the little feet area, because that's going to go on your roof. Yeah, just like that. I had to move them up a little bit. Of course you have to have the blades, right? And it just goes on that nose piece, and then there's a little circle that goes on the end, and it does spin. Of course, when I was almost done, I realized, what? I have extra parts. Oh no, I completely skipped a step. No big deal. This sidewall will have to come off for temporary, and I'll stick all the decorative pieces that should have gone on this castle wall. One nice thing that this is more of a puzzle, or like a punch out kind of thing, and not all glued together, because this would have been a lot harder to fix. There we go. Now it's more complete. Oopsies. Just goes to show, you know, if you make a mistake, not a big deal. You can go back and fix it. And I knew I did because I had too many extra parts. Okay, where were we? Oh yeah, we're sticking the little windmill on top of the building. And now we could put the last wall up. It's very exciting. Make sure everything's all secure. And then we're going to stick this one right here. So very, very, very cool. I really like this one. And I also stuck the front on there. I didn't put the plastic there purely for filming reasons, because I didn't want to glare. And I wanted to show you, you know, the inside without a reflection of me. But now you can see all the little Viking people just living their lives with the sheep and the boats. Very, very cool. And the stormy clouds. Ooh. All right, so it's all done. Pretty nice, huh? It was a nice, easy build, relatively. It is a little more advanced, I would say,
Well, I don't know. Some kids are really good at things, so this could be pretty easy for them. But overall, I did it in a day, and I think it was fun. It's beautiful. There's a couple people in my family that are fighting over putting it in their room, so must be a winner. So I'm so glad that you are here and you were able to enjoy this journey or this voyage into the storm. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Put a thumbs up on there, nothing else. Everything's free, doesn't charge you a dime. And if you want to see this kit and many others by fifijoy, I will put a link in the description where you can look at all their cool stuff. There's some really cool ones. The magic shops, Harry Potter kind of things, very fantasy-esque, which is right up my alley. And I'll see you in the next video. You think this lady stole my look? Who wore it better?